"Don't touch me again, human," she hissed through clenched teeth, her crystalline skin flickering between amber and deep red, which I'd learned meant pain mixed with fury. But the poison was spreading up her arm and she'd be dead in 20 minutes if I didn't extract it. So I just smiled and reached for her anyway. Her good hand shot out, grabbing my wrist with surprising strength despite the toxin ravaging her system, and those prismatic eyes locked onto mine with an intensity that could have melted steel. "I mean it, Dr. Chen. My people don't allow physical contact with outsiders. I'd rather die with honor than live contaminated by alien touch." The problem was she actually meant it, and I was about to find out if my stubborn human refusal to let people die stupidly was stronger than a Kyrath warrior's pride. Because there was no way in hell I was letting Lieutenant Sarith become another casualty statistic on this godforsaken moon. Not when I had the antidote literally in my hands and the skill to administer it. "Lieutenant," I said calmly, not pulling away from her grip but not backing down either. "I respect your culture, I respect your choice. But I'm also not going to watch you die from Vex serpent venom because of a taboo. So here's what's going to happen. You can let me treat you willingly. Or you can pass out from the poison in about 3 minutes and I'll treat you anyway. But either way, you're surviving today. Let me back up to how we ended up in this situation. Because 6 hours ago, Lieutenant Sarith and I weren't even on speaking terms, let alone trapped together in a cave system while I fought to save her life. The Kyrath had joined the Galactic Coalition 2 years back, a warrior species known for their crystal-based biology, their rigid honor codes, and their complete disdain for physical contact with other species. Something about their bodies being sacred vessels that couldn't be contaminated by alien touch without lengthy purification rituals. Sarith was assigned as security for our research expedition on Telos 4, a moon with promising mineral deposits and apparently a whole ecosystem of things that wanted to kill us. She'd made it clear from day one that she found humans disgustingly tactile, always touching and hugging and invading personal space, and I'd made it equally clear that I found Kyrath's superiority complexes exhausting. We'd maintained professional distance, barely spoke except when necessary, and generally pretended the other didn't exist. Then this morning I'd wandered too far from camp chasing an interesting plant sample. She'd followed to drag me back because apparently keeping the stupid human alive was her job, and we'd both fallen through a hidden sinkhole into a cave system where a Vex serpent had been waiting. The serpent had gone for me first. They always go for warm-blooded prey. But Sarith had shoved me aside and taken the bite meant for my throat on her forearm instead, then killed the thing with her plasma blade while I stared in shock. "You saved my life," I'd said stupidly. And she'd responded, "Don't read into it." Human. I simply refused to fail a protection assignment before the venom really hit her system. Now we were deep in the caves. Our comms weren't reaching the surface, and I was watching this proud alien warrior slowly dying because she'd saved me, and now wouldn't let me return the favor. "The poison is necrotizing your tissue," I explained, opening my emergency medkit with my free hand since she still had my other wrist in a death grip. "In 15 minutes it'll reach your lymphatic system equivalent. In 20 it'll hit your crystalline heart matrix, and then you're done. But I can stop it right now with this anti-venom injection and a simple extraction procedure." Her grip tightened, and her skin flickered darker red. "You don't understand what you're asking. Kyrath skin-to-skin contact creates a resonance bond. It's why we don't touch outsiders. Once the bond forms, it's permanent, and I'd be linked to you forever, feeling your emotions, sharing your pain, and I'd be cast out from my clan for bonding with an alien." She was shaking now, whether from the poison or emotion I couldn't tell. "I won't do it. I won't throw away everything I am just to live a few more years." I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw past the warrior facade to the fear underneath. Not fear of death, but fear of exile, of losing her identity, of being cut off from everything she knew. "How old are you, Sarith?" I asked quietly, and confusion flickered across her face at the question. 23 cycles, why does that matter? 23, I thought, just a kid, really. And she was ready to die rather than face her people's judgment. "It matters," I said, "because you have a lot of life ahead of you, a lot of things to see and do and become, and I'm not going to let you throw that away." I made my decision in that moment, the kind of decision that would probably get me court-martialed but felt absolutely right. "Okay, new plan," I said, and before she could react, I twisted my wrist out of her weakening grip and jabbed the anti-venom injector into her good shoulder. She gasped, her eyes going wide with betrayal, and I kept talking fast. The anti-venom will slow the spread but won't stop it. I still need to extract the poison from the wound site manually, which means skin contact, which means you're getting that bond whether you like it or not. So you can spend your last conscious moments hating me, or you can accept that sometimes survival matters more than tradition. Her crystalline skin was shifting rapidly through colors: red anger, amber pain, and something flickering purple that I didn't recognize. "You had no right," she whispered, but her voice was getting weaker. "You're absolutely correct, I had no right. And I'll face whatever consequences come from that," I said, already moving to her injured arm. "But right now I'm the only medical professional in this cave, and you're my patient. And I took an oath to do no harm, which includes not letting people die from stubbornness." I placed my hand on her forearm above the wound, and the reaction was immediate and intense. Her skin lit up like a prism catching sunlight, colors cascading across the crystalline surface, and I felt something like an electrical current pass between us, warm and strange and oddly intimate. "The bond," she breathed, her eyes locked on where we touched. "It's forming, I can feel you. Your determination, your fear that I'll die. She stopped, her expression shifting to something like wonder. "Your compassion, you actually care if I live. Not because it's your job, but because you genuinely don't want me to die." The bond was disorienting. Suddenly I could feel her emotions bleeding into mine. Her pain sharp and crystalline. Her fear of exile deep and aching. But underneath it all was something else. A tiny spark of gratitude and relief that someone had finally made the choice for her. That she didn't have to be the one to break her people's laws. "I'm going to extract the venom now," I said gently, pulling out the extraction syringe. "And it's going to hurt. I'm sorry." I felt her brace herself through the bond, felt her warrior's discipline slam into place, and then I was drawing the venom out of the wound while she shuddered, and her colors flashed violent red. Through the bond, I felt her pain like it was my own, felt her fighting not to scream, and found myself talking to distract her. "You know what's stupid," I said, working as quickly as I could. "Your people's whole no-contact policy is stupid. You just saved my life without hesitation. Threw yourself in front of a serpent for a human you don't even like, and now you're suffering because some ancient law says touching me contaminates you, when clearly you're one of the bravest, most selfless people I've ever met, regardless of what species you are." I felt surprise ripple through the bond from her side. "You think I'm brave?" she asked, her voice thin with pain. "I think you're an idiot who nearly died for me," I said, finishing the extraction and immediately applying regenerative gel to the wound. "But yeah, the bravest idiot I've ever met. And for what it's worth, if you're stuck with a bond to me, I'm honored. Even if you're not." The cave was silent except for her ragged breathing as the anti-venom and treatment did their work. And through the bond I felt her pain slowly receding, her system stabilizing, life returning instead of draining away. "I can feel you," she said quietly, her colors settling into a soft blue I hadn't seen before. "Your relief that I'm going to live, your worry about what happens next, your guilt that you forced this choice on me." She lifted her good hand and, hesitantly, placed it against my cheek, and the bond flared stronger. "But also your loneliness, you're so far from your home, surrounded by aliens who don't understand humans, and you hide it behind competence and sarcasm." The accuracy of that hit me harder than expected, and she smiled slightly. "The bond goes both ways. Dr. Chen, you can feel me, I can feel you, and I can feel that you're genuinely sorry for violating my autonomy, even though you'd do it again to save my life." I covered her hand with mine, this contact that had seemed so forbidden now feeling natural. "I am sorry," I said honestly. "I'm sorry I didn't give you the choice. I'm sorry I've caused you problems with your clan. But I'm not sorry you're alive." Through the bond I felt her emotions shifting, the fear of exile still present but smaller now, overwhelmed by something warmer, acceptance, maybe even the beginning of affection. "My clan will exile me," she said matter-of-factly. "The moment they learn of the bond, I'll be cast out, stripped of rank and title, forbidden from returning to Kyrath Prime." She paused, her colors flickering thoughtful purple. "But I'll be alive to experience it, which I suppose is better than the alternative." We sat in the cave for another hour before the rescue team found us, and in that hour, something shifted between us. What does it feel like for you? I asked at one point, curious about her experience of the bond. Like you're a song I can't stop hearing, she said, her colors warm amber now that the pain had faded. Your emotions have a different frequency than Kyrath emotions, sharper, more chaotic, but also more vibrant, like comparing a single crystal tone to a full symphony. She tilted her head, studying me. I was taught that aliens were inferior, that bonding with one would diminish me. But through this bond I can feel the complexity of your mind, the depth of your convictions, and you're not inferior at all, just different. I felt her curiosity through the bond, her worldview cracking and reforming around new information. For me, it's like having a second heartbeat, I told her. I can feel your presence at the edge of my consciousness, your emotions like colors I can almost see. It's strange but not unpleasant. I hesitated, then asked the question that had been bothering me. Do you regret it, the bond? Through our connection, I felt her considering the question, felt her turning it over from multiple angles, and when she answered, I felt the truth of it. Ask me again in a year, she said, when I'm living in exile and struggling to find a new purpose. And maybe I'll regret it then, but right now, in this moment, feeling alive and connected to someone who cared enough to save me despite the cost. Her colors shifted to something golden and warm. No, Dr. Chen, I don't regret it. When the rescue team found us, they immediately noticed something was off. Sarith's skin was displaying colors they'd never seen before, and she refused to let go of my hand. The bond formed, she told Captain Vex, a senior Kyrath officer, and I felt her steel herself for condemnation. But Vex surprised us both by kneeling and placing his hand over our joined ones. Then you are fortunate, young warrior, for bonds are rare and precious regardless of the species involved. Through our connection, I felt Sarith's shock. But the laws, the contamination protocols, Vex's own crystalline skin flickered with something like amusement. Our traditions from a time when we knew nothing of other species and feared what we didn't understand. Some of us have been arguing for reform for decades. And perhaps your bond will be the catalyst that finally changes old minds. He stood, helping us both up. You saved Dr. Chen's life, then she saved yours. And now you're connected. That sounds like the beginning of something valuable to me. As they helped us back to the surface, Sarith's confusion and hope flooded through the bond, and I squeezed her hand. Not what you expected? I asked, and felt her surprised laugh through our connection. Nothing about today was what I expected, she admitted. Starting with a human doctor who smiled while ignoring my protests, and ending with me being grateful she did. 6 months later, we were assigned as permanent partners, her as security, me as medical officer, on deep space exploration missions, and the bond that started in crisis had grown into something neither of us wanted to live without. Do you ever regret forcing that choice on me? Sarith asked one night on our ship, her colors the peaceful blue that meant contentment. Through the bond, I felt her already knowing my answer but wanting to hear it anyway. Every time you smile, every time we work together like we share one mind, every time I feel your presence through the bond and know I'm not alone out here. I took her hand, the contact now as natural as breathing. Not even for a second. She laughed, her colors shifting to warm gold. Good answer, Dr. Chen, because I don't regret it either. You were right that day in the cave. Sometimes survival and connection matter more than tradition. And sometimes the best things in life come from someone who cares enough to smile and do the hard thing anyway. I pulled her close, feeling our emotions harmonize through the bond. Two different species finding understanding through forced proximity and stubborn compassion. You know what the best part is? I asked and felt her curiosity. What? She replied. That you don't say, don't touch me anymore, I said. And through the bond, I felt her affection and amusement as she deliberately invaded my personal space. In that way, she'd learned from observing humans. I learned from the best, she said, and her laughter through the bond was the most beautiful sound in the galaxy. Proof that sometimes breaking the rules saves more than just lives, it saves futures, partnerships, and creates connections that span across species to make the universe a little less lonely.